Good morning. Okay. Where is everyone? Is it too early? Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Dante. Thank you both for being on time. So I'll need to wait a few minutes for everyone to chime in. Good morning, Brendan. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
No, I'm doing well. Doing well. I'm alive.
That's good. That's always good.
I made it. Didn't sleep through.
All right. That's right. Everything okay then?
Yeah, yeah. Crushing it.
All right, cool.
I even remembered to check in. That's always a plus.
That is always a plus. All right. I'll wait a few more minutes. I know it's always early, even virtual, it's early, right?
Yeah. At least virtually, you just wake up, roll over, turn on the laptop.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to get going, right?
Yeah.
All right. Who else do we have? Dennis and Jesus. Good morning, gentlemen. I want to make sure you check into Cadley. My good old tracking tool. All right, Wednesday morning, April 1st. And maybe everyone's not going to show up because it's an April Fool's joke, right? Everyone else, I should say.
No, we need participation points.
Yeah, so that is true. Let's see, who else do we have? Make sure I can see everyone. Oh, wait, another minute. It'll be 7:05. And we'll get started. Let me close these blinds a little bit. That's a little better. All right. Well, here we are, week 12, 15. Yeah, winding down, right? So let's get our little lecture started. And basically, as you know, you have an assignment due this week, another one of the proposals, but make sure you check into Cadley. And I just want to start the lecture out with just a quick prayer, or just a quick reading from the Bible. This is Psalms 107. And basically, it reads, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever." So just remember that during this time of angst and whatever we're going to call this, that's associated with the virus. Now that we're under orders from our illustrious leader of the state to stay at home and stay safe and stay connected. So, all right. Okay, so we're in this we're going into this corporate proposal, the fifth one, and this is security guidelines. This one, I do want you to really pay attention to how you construct it. I'm not adverse to you constructing these particular components in bullet points, as long as you have just a brief explanation as to how you would use those, or how you're using those to develop security guidelines for your little company. And remember, this is a proposal for your little company, so write it in that manner. All right, and it's due on Sunday, by midnight. So yes, you can follow through with your normal procrastination scenarios. All right. So based on your research from this topic and going through the security setups and the group policy objects and even the audit policies, all that should be a part of your security guidelines for your corporation. So you're tasked to ensure that you cover all aspects of security, including physical security, access, physical access, logon, appropriate usage, malware prevention, detection, auditing, and system updates. If you navigate to the SANS.org site, there's several templates on writing, putting together security guidelines for a little corporation. So in LoudCloud, it says 500 to 750 word document. Once again, if you just include a bulleted and numbered list, that's fine. But I'm just looking for brief explanations on those aspects of your security guidelines. Right. So what I'm looking for in this little write-up, please review the rubric. And basically, you're not, well, all right, it does state that you have to submit this to Lobstrite, but don't worry about that. If you use a template, it'll come back high similarity. So don't worry about submitting it to Lobstrite. All right, so what I'm looking for in the write-up are basically 6 major high-level aspects of your security guidelines. Number 1 is physical access. Number 2 is logon access. Number 3 is appropriate usage. Number 4 is malware prevention detection. Number 5 is auditing. And number 6 will be systems updates. And when I'm referring to systems updates, primarily just talk about your server. Essentially, how would you ensure that the updates are currently ran and your workstation. So you're mapping that to not just your little VMs, but to a corporate infrastructure where you'll have several devices or several systems that require an update. So make sure you include that and just reference and say, for example, if you're running Windows Server 2016, are you checking for updates automatically, et cetera, et cetera? Are you pushing updates? Things like that. Now, Windows makes it easy now. Basically, you just check the box and your updates will run, whenever you allocate them as far as a schedule. All right, so let's break these down a little bit to give you kind of a heads up as to what I'm looking for within the proposal. So as far as physical access, obviously you want to look at locks, your server room. Is there a keypad entry? Will you use biometrics? Do you have a security guard? You want to talk about those aspects if they're appropriate for your company. And your server racks themselves, do you have lock cabinets? Is it a separate room? All of those aspects. And I think some of you or most of you understand, and we talked about it briefly at the beginning of the semester, basically, how is the physical access structured, or how will it be structured? Number 2 is login access, so passwords, obviously administrators. Do you have a super admin, which is usually that system admin, which is that default admin. You have department admins, and then your users. So I want you to break it down and basically in those layers, starting with what type of password, policies do you have in place, et cetera. So you can see that this maps right into, the assignment before where we looked at the policies for passwords, et cetera. And then appropriate usage. I mean, that SANS document that you would view from their site has just many litany of things where you can use as far as appropriate usage. And you've gone through this as well. You would include auditing, a part of auditing in this section the workstations, essentially, are you using some type of proctor or policy to stop certain websites? Do you have, approved websites, et cetera, things like that. As far as the internet, is your firewall set so basically everything is monitored? There's all these things you included here. Printing and other office resources, supported applications, yes, and web browsing. So those 5 are very, very important as far as appropriate usage. So this section, I do want you to just take a little bit of time to identify, exactly, and it has to be enough details so that I know that you truly have guidelines that you can actually create a printed document or a printed message that you would send to the workstations. For example, if you had that login message, then one of the snippets of the login message would be, system appropriate usage. And then malware prevention detection. Obviously, there's usually enterprise level support as far as applications that check for malware, virus detection, all of that. Generally, it's kind of a default that most of the OSs have something that will supply kind of a baseline level of protection. So just right about that. Essentially, most corps, most industries will work with McAfee or Norton or some of the others, Checkpoint or Palo Alto to do endpoint security. So there are several options there, and you need to address websites and workstations. So it ties into typical essentially ensure that if you're running a local device on a wireless network, ensure that you have some type of security protection and detection in place. And then auditing, this is the larger section of auditing. You can basically use what you did the last assignment. This ties into just about everything else. What I want here is just a detailed I want you to detail the auditing. Why do you need auditing? When are the reports going to be checked? Daily, weekly, monthly? And then what type of actions if there's, for example, there's several failed login attempts. What will you do in that case? When I was a system admin, we would give the users 3 chances, and then basically we would keep their account locked, and they would actually have to either physically talk to their supervisor or to the system admin as to why, if they forgot their password before their accounts were unlocked. And then the audit logs we would review actually multiple times during the day, which was back in those days, it was basically we had those printers. So we would run a routine on the server that would print the logs. It was pretty bothersome. I don't know if you all remember the old computer printer, with the green and white lines. I can remember going through those logs, exhaustively. But now you don't really have to do that. Most system admins will have the logs. Just pull them from the server when they're needed, send them on to whomever, etc. So yes, talk about auditing and auditing reviews and actions taken when some of the audit policies are not, if the users aren't abiding by some of the policies. And then finally, system updates, servers, workstations, details. Is it going to be automatic or manual? Supported OSs. And this one should be straightforward. Basically, those 4 components should be included. This one should not be that wordy because updates are pretty standard now. They're defaults. All right, so once again, probably a very good place to start is on the SANS.org site. And just some brief information about SANS. It was established in '89, and it's essentially the system admin, audit, network, and security. SANS has been primarily focusing on security as of late, but it has a ton of resources there, and it's all there for educating, IT and security, professionals. All right, any questions?
I have a quick question, Dwight.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Um, it has to do with appropriate usage, but how often, like today, do IT professionals have to block like Netflix and stuff on work computers? Is that something that's like normally done, or do they just kind of like leave that up to, like managers to make sure people aren't doing that during
No,
work?
that's normally done by the IT. For example, here at GCU, you'll notice that Netflix is blocked on any wired system,
Okay.
any streaming service. So that's actually a setting that is done in the group policies. Basically, it's a site that is blocked on the proxy servers. So yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's usually the system admin and the IT. That has nothing to do with department. Matter of fact, most IT will not allow that access or those settings to be controlled by departments.
Okay.
Any other questions? You're all pretty quiet. Let's see. Is that Anthony? Are you on? Is that you?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. I had to drop my son off.
Okay, not a problem. You had to drop him off where? You're supposed to keep him at home.
Yeah, he's so preschool. They're not shutting down yet. Only Arizona, like Arizona schools,
Oh,
like
okay.
actual schools.
Got it. Got it. All right, Teddy, did you have a question?
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Who else? Let's see. All right, well, as far as what I'm expecting for the assignment, pretty straightforward. I do want you to provide enough detail so that I know you're putting something legitimate together for as far as a proposal. So does that make sense?
I have a question. This is Dennis.
Well, go ahead, Dennis.
So is it like, are we able to incorporate, because this paper's kind of similar to other papers that we've done, are we able to like incorporate what we've used in the past?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's a good question. So Dennis asked, can you incorporate some of your other proposals? Yes. As a matter of fact, if you want to just add this security guidelines and bullet it at the end of one of your last proposal, that's acceptable.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
When it says physical security, like when you walk into, let me see, the so I worked at the Pentagon, and there was like 2 different authentications just to get in.
Mhm.
And then no phones or anything like loud inside of certain rooms. Is that what you're meaning by physical
Yes.
security as well?
Yeah, Pentagon yeah, they have so many, layers of physical security. So that's,
Right.
yeah. So you essentially
Okay.
do something that's appropriate for your little company.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions? So everyone is doing pretty good so far. I mean, here in Arizona, how many of you are all of you still in Arizona? I think most of you are, right?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, so
I'm at
now
home.
we are under official orders. Stay home, stay safe, stay connected. Well, California has been for a while, but
California has a curfew, or at least Orange County does now.
yeah. So California is one of the hot spots, so yeah, they're a little bit more stringent. We don't really have a curfew here yet, but I'm thinking over the next couple weeks, things will begin to become more locked down. Although there's two schools of thoughts now. Things will start to decrease, and there's a question mark. Really depends on how that is measured. But I still think it's going to get worse before it gets better. So that's my general consensus. Okay, you're in NorCal. Okay, it's probably better up there. Yeah. So everyone's doing okay, hanging in there, right? No one's going stir crazy yet.
Not yet.
I know that I had mentioned in one of my other classes that you can only game so much, and everyone argued that point right away. So I should not have said that. So I understand now.
Are you gaming, Dwight?
Not a whole lot. I'm actually reading more.
Oh man,
I know you guys don't. Yeah, yeah. I went back to just reading real books. I have a ton of them here. So yes, real books with pages and letters on the page. Not audiobooks, not so, and everything too, from textbooks to novels and yeah, all that crazy geeky stuff that we used to do all the time. Yes, what are those? Oh, I don't have one here right now. I can show you a good example of what a book is. But yeah, for me, I can only game so much, then I get tired of gaming. So.
I agree.
But
I agree as well.
all right, see, you guys are pretty level-headed.
yeah,
That's good.
I get bored.
Take naps in between sessions to,
Right.
jump right back on and still keep the momentum.
Well, see, that's the good thing about gaming now. You don't have to. I don't know if you remember the old days. If you stopped your game, that was it. You had to start.
Oh
over.
yeah.
You don't really need. That's not the scenario anymore. All right. So I will add the recording of this lecture to LoudCloud. Friday is not mandatory. If you have any questions, I'll open up the session, but only if you have questions, basically an assignment, or if you want me to review something, that would be the time to do it. Other than that, please take care, stay safe, and hopefully you all have someone to bother. All right.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
all.
Have a good one.
Y'all
Take
have a
care.
good one.
Have a nice
Bye.
See you, Dwight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.